Hi, my name is Lee Sankey and welcome back to the third and final part of 7 themes for intermediate blues harmonica players. I've already covered 5 of the themes in the first 2 videos, and in this, the final part, I'll be covering the last 2 themes, which are anchoring and agility and playing the changes. So let's get straight on with it. So the first one I want to talk about, which is the 6th theme, is anchoring and agility. Sorry, I left agility off there. Now, when we play the harmonica, you can lip block or you can tongue block, and players generally tend to be in one camp or the other in terms of the bias toward one technique or the other. I generally prefer to tongue block, other players tend to prefer lip blocking. Now, most intermediate players are firmly in one camp, and generally the transition between tongue blocking and lip blocking is not smooth. Now, lip blocking gives you certain advantages and tongue blocking has certain advantages, like for instance if you want to produce chords, tongue blocking is the way to go. So what the advanced players are doing is, whether there's someone like Dennis Grunling who absolutely prefers tongue blocking, or someone like Adam Gusso who prefers lip blocking with a bit of tongue blocking, is the ability to transition between those two techniques. Now, why is that important? Now, on the harmonica, when you want to go from one note back to another note or up to another note, which has more than one hole, one or more holes in between the note that you want, making those transitions, if you only tongue block with one side of your mouth or you only lip block, is very difficult. And I illustrate that on this phrase that we have on the 4 chord. Now, you can hit that phrase all tongue blocked or all lip blocked, and that's fine. And as in with all these things, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. The harmonica is a very personal instrument. But what I want to introduce you to here, or to get you to think about, is the ability to mix between tongue blocking and lip blocking. And the reason why that is useful is illustrated here. So when you finish the blow 4, so the riff is draw 2, draw 3, half step bend, blow 4. When you finish on the blow 4, you've got to get back to the draw 2. Or if you were just playing it. Now, if you were to try and get back to that draw 2 without hitting the draw 3, if you only tongue blocked on one side of your mouth or you only lip blocked, it's very difficult. Not impossible, but very, very difficult. And what I'm doing here is I'm hitting the first note lip blocked, and then I'm using tongue blocking for the draw 3, half step bend and the blow 4. Now when I finish that blow 4, I'm instantly back on the 2. And what that means is, expanding that thinking wider, is you're able to cover these bigger intervals, let's say from the draw 2 to the blow 6. Now if you were just doing that lip blocking or just on one side of your mouth, it's very hard to do accurately all the time. So that is the 6th theme, is anchoring and agility, and the ability to move around the harp and cover large distances cleanly and quickly. And what advanced players are doing is they're either using both sides of their tongue, or they're switching between lip blocking and tongue blocking and back, and they're able to do it instantly. So for example, if you want to play a riff like this, or there's a hole in the way which I'm not hitting because I'm switching between tongue blocking and lip pursing. Other kind of sounds, that's this side and then that side of my tongue. And this is something advanced players use a lot to cover those big distances. So that's the 6th theme, anchoring and agility. The next theme is playing the changes. Now, a lot of intermediate players are not actually playing through the chord changes. So for instance, if we've got a 1-4-5 chord progression, as we do here in the key of G, you can play the G blues scale all the way through it and it sounds just fine. But what advanced players are doing, irrespective of having a big tone and great feel, is they're playing through the chord changes. So when they're on the 4, they're accentuating the fact they're on the 4. When they come back to the 1, they're back on the 1. When the 5 chord comes up, they're playing fully out of the 5 chord. Now, for most intermediate players, playing the 5 chord is going to be a draw 4 or a draw 1. And on this 12-bar passage, I'd like to sort of show you a really simple way that you can start playing through the chord changes, and it sounds like this. So what we've got there is on the 5 chord we've got this. Now that's a 3-note arpeggio of the 5 chord. Now as an intermediate player you can already play scales, you can already bend notes, and if you're able to do that you're able to play through the chord changes. So here it's just draw 6, draw 5, draw 4, and then on the 4 chord it's the same holes but all blow notes. Blow 6, blow 5, blow 4. So it's those arpeggios. And you can go down or you can go up. Lots of variation. Now, if you can find where those arpeggios are on the harmonica, simple 3-note arpeggios, which is basically, arpeggio is a chord but played 1 note at a time, then you will add a lot of interest and colour to your playing. Similarly, on the last chord, the 5 chord, as it brings it round back to the 1, we have a simple arpeggio, but on the lower register. And that brings it back round to the 1. So intermediate players, generally on the turnaround, would be using a draw 4. But with these arpeggios, you can make it a lot more interesting. So simple 3-note arpeggios will transform your playing and will let you play through the changes, and that is what advanced players are often doing, playing through those chord changes. And if you can play scales and you can bend notes as an intermediate player, you're already there. You just got to get a little bit of the musical theory. There's plenty of resources on YouTube, and there's books and DVDs that will help you do that, to go beyond just using the root note of the chord that you're on, which would be the draw 4, or the blow 4, the blow 1, or the draw 1, etc. You can go much further than that with the skills you already have, just with a bit of knowledge. So that's the 7th and final theme. So just to recap the 7 themes, the first one is answer call. It's phrases that help build up a push-pull or a conversation. The next one was the details, which we illustrated by this blow 4. So little notes, little touches which don't seem important but are everything, the details. The third theme was simplicity, and how a lot of intermediate players often have a kind of randomness or a lack of control to their playing, which the advanced players, or the real ace people like Kim Wilson, William Clark, Dennis Grungling, they don't have. They're in control, even when they're pushing themselves. And the best way to do that is to own the notes. Don't let the harmonica own you, and you do that by keeping things simple. Play those notes with meaning, with a good sound, and it will sound much better than playing something really fast that just sounds like you're sucking and seeing. The next thing we talked about was timing. Now, not just playing in time, but how altering 1 or 2 notes within a phrase can completely transform it, and we again used this on that fantastic little riff that we've got on the 4 chord. So that just that little hang on the 3 note completely changes that sequence of notes. Then we talked about colour and variation. Now, the harmonica is a fantastic instrument for putting colour and variation into producing different sounds, but we were talking about colour and variation of the way that you hit individual notes or phrases rather than different effects, such as, but rather to think about how you can hit individual notes with a thin sound or with a fat sound, and that is well within the ability of an intermediate harmonica player. Then we talked about anchoring and agility, and then we talked about playing the changes. So those are the 7 themes for intermediate harmonica players. By no means exhaustive, plenty of other things that we could talk about, but understanding those themes, which I've combined into that 12-bar sequence, which is covered in part 1 and part 2, will really make a big difference to an intermediate player to use the ability and the skills they already have to sound much better just by using those 7 themes. I hope you found that interesting, and see you again soon. Thank you.